Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing another audio commentary, and this time I'm commentating on the OSL round of 16 Group D matchup between Backho playing Protoss in yellow and Much playing Protoss in white. So Much starting up at the 11 o'clock position and Backho in yellow at the 1 o'clock position. This is a Protoss versus Protoss mirror matchup, and I'm looking forward to it. But before I get into this, just a couple of quick shout-outs. Firstly, to remind you guys to check out sc2gg.com. All of you guys who enjoy listening to StarCraft with English commentary, sc2gg.com is a must-visit website for you guys. There are quite a few decent to good commentators there, and I think you guys would enjoy listening to them. So definitely check them out. Definitely some good commentators there, and pretty much there's so much StarCraft content on there that I think you guys probably wouldn't be able to get through it. There's that much content. So definitely check that website out. Also, you guys should check out Violet AK's account, which I'm subscribed to. I post, for those of you who keep asking where are my latest commentaries, a lot of times I do dual commentaries with Diggity and triple commentaries with Diggity and Moletrap, and dual commentaries with Moletrap as well. So those tend to get posted on the Violet account because it doesn't have the 10-minute limit. So be sure you guys subscribe to that account as well and keep up to date on all the commentaries. So anyway, starting up, both players seem to have gone for similar starting strategies, Much just putting down his gateway. Neither player scouting as of yet. This is being played on Andromeda, which is an interesting map, especially for... But in Protoss versus Protoss, obviously, you're not going to see the terrain influence the gameplay as much as you would see it when a Terran player might be involved or a Zerg player might be involved. So, Backho looks like he's the one sending out the scout initially. A lot of people have a lot of hate for Backho because he was the one who cheesed Jaedong out of the OSL, and obviously it was disappointing. But I think, in fairness, you can't blame the player who beat Jaedong. Ultimately, it's not Backho's responsibility to make sure that Jaedong gets through to the next round. He's playing for himself. Much looks like he's decided to take his assimilator. Backho hasn't started that yet. He's scouting earlier than Much. Much still to send out the probe. Looks like Much is finally sending out the probe to scout. Much is one of those Protoss players that has been in the fringes of the good player scene or of the great player scene for a while. He's put in some decent performances, so now Cybernetics score starting off for Much. He's put in an assimilator now going down for Backho, so a little bit behind Much seemingly, without actually having done too much different. Perhaps he's produced a couple of extra probes, and looks like Backho is going for a cheese build here. Looks like Backho is going to try and do something outrageous. He's putting a pylon down at the 9 o'clock position, or actually is that Much's pylon? I'm not 100%. Actually, that might be Much's pylon at the 9 o'clock position. I can't actually tell for a second there, but I think that is Much's pylon because that's the yellow probe. So I thought for a second that Much was going to try and cheese. Backho was going to get so confused because these colors are very similar as well. I thought Backho was going to try and cheese Much, but it looks like Much is the one who's going to try and hide his tech at the 9 o'clock position. He's put a pylon down, he's put a citadel of iron down there as well, so that's going to obviously be hidden from his opponent. Backho sending a zealot out towards Much's base. Much very cleverly has put a zealot down to block his ramp to try and deny that scout to his opponent. And if Much can deny the scout here, then his opponent won't know what is coming, because obviously if Backho can get inside his base, if Backho can get inside Much's base, then he'll be able to see, and he's actually managed to sneak the zealot around. Unfortunately, that ramp is too narrow. We see Dragoon range, what looks like Dragoon range being upgraded in the Cybernetics core for Much, surprisingly enough, considering he has put that citadel down, and maybe that's just to deceive his opponent. So that zealot is now in and amongst Much's probe line, and that's going to do a little bit of harass. He's now got the Dragoon out as well, so he should be able to deal with this finally. The critical factor here is that Backho has not seen that hidden pylon with the citadel of iron, and as it was, Much was ahead of Backho in terms of his tech. So Much is one of those players who's been threatening to be a great player, or threatening to be or at the very least threatening to be a good StarCraft player, but he just has not really been able to achieve the big results. So now the probe going in, so Backho very cleverly keeping his probe hidden at the north corner of the base, just trying to scout out and see exactly what Much is up to, and because he's not seeing any scouting buildings in Much's base, it's going to make him suspicious. It's going to make him suspicious about exactly what Much is up to. So Templar Archives now spotted by Backho. Backho is spotted. So this is going to be critical here for Much. Unfortunately, that probe has now seen the Templar Archives just as Much put it down. So that's going to make it very difficult for him to now pull off this surprise build successfully. I don't understand why he decided to put the Templar Archives in his base, why he didn't just put it down at that proxy base. Probably because he sent his own probe out to scout, and that's probably why he didn't have a probe out there, so he was forced to put that Templar Archives in his base, and Backho immediately putting out the robotics facility. So he's going to have his observatory out in time, as well as a couple of observers, and unfortunately for Much, that strategy is not now going to pay off for him. He's invested a lot in this build, And with that scouting probe, and immediately Much decides to adapt his build by putting on the Nexus. Backho decides that he should try and put some pressure on Much, and he's setting his ground forces out to try and put some pressure on him. But Much is well positioned up on that ramp, and I think he does have Dragoon range upgraded, because I thought I saw him researching that unless he cancelled it. So he should be able to cope with this attack quite comfortably. Just a single Zealot and a couple of Dragoons coming out. He's got the DT out as well. He might or might not. I think he would be better off using the DT to do maximum damage to Backho's forces here and try and take Backho's forces down so that his own forces can support the DTs. Looks like he's only got the one gateway though. Backho now getting the observatory out, so Much is not going to be able to do, unfortunately for him, any damage with that Dark Templar. 2 Dragoons being chased down by that Dark Templar, and by the time those Dragoons return to Backho's base, he should have that his first observer out. So unfortunate situation for Much, but you've got to give credit to Backho for the way he held back the probe. He sent a Zealot and probe into scout, kept the Zealot among the probe line, and then sent the probe into scout, and the timing of that was just right, because it was clear that Much was trying to hide his tech from Backho. He was trying to kill that Zealot before that tech was really revealed, and again, great play by Backho, very, very sharp here. That Dark Templar getting up the ramp in time, but Backho cleverly blocking the path into his main with those Dragoons to prevent that Dark Templar from getting in and getting some probe kills. So completely negating Much's strategy. The only thing that is working in Much's favor is that he has gotten that Nexus down at his mid only. Backho now putting his Nexus down. Backho's got a superior ground force, and if he does decide to push out, I think Much might struggle a little bit to hold it, and it's just a question of Backho getting the scout off and realizing what Much is doing. I think Backho probably feels Much probably has a decent sized ground force, but now that observer is floating back over, and once that observer gets over and sees that Nexus, I think he's going to have a fair idea of what Much is doing. Second observer now popping out just to provide cover for those Dragoons so that they can move out. And I think as soon as Backho sees that Nexus up for Much, he's going to move out and put the pressure, because it is key, because he is behind a little bit in terms of his economy, because Much has put that Nexus down and started to reap the rewards of it, and Much is now in a very defensive posture. He's got 3 gateways down, he's pumping units from them, he's getting his own robotics facility out. He does have the advantage of higher ground. It is very difficult to break defenses on this map, and Much is going to rely on that lone Dark Templar just to keep Backho's Dragoons in his base. Now Backho putting down a Citadel of Adon himself, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not he decides to put the 3rd Nexus down at his mid only, seeing what Much has done, or if he's going to decide to just barrel through with as many forces as he can. Much has now moved down out of his base, out of the defensive position that he had up on the ramp, and just past his choke, and has a decent sized force there. So Much, I think, still in a decent position, despite the fact that he committed himself to that DT rush early on, even though it was spotted. Backho now getting the Templar Archives out, probably